Welcome back to Built Fabrications, and today I get to play around with a new tool. It's the Harbor Freight stud welder, and we're going to use it to try to hopefully get the cab corner where we got it welded up, try to get that smoothed out. So I have no idea how this thing works. I'm going to be finding out myself for the first time, so we'll find out together. Let's get into it. You can see the riding on the pavement. Young kids that growing up in basements. So whenever you open up the package, you'll have your stud welder, you have the slide hammer, and then it comes with some studs, two different sizes. I don't remember what sizes they are. Let's see. 200 studs, 2 millimeter, and 3 millimeter. If that means anything to you guys at all. So I took one for the team and I read the instructions so that you guys don't have to. So the way that this works is it plugs into, it calls for a 20 amp outlet, receptacle, whatever. I'm probably gonna try to run on a 15 and see if it trips a breaker. We'll test that out too. But the way that it works is you take a stud, it's a little closer. So you have the one side has that tip on it, the other side is smooth. So the smooth end goes into the tip of the stud welder. And before I continue, there's two different sizes. There's the 2 millimeter and 3 millimeter studs. And they have a tip that coordinates with that size. So you need to make sure that you have the correct tip for whatever size you want to run. So in this case, this came with the larger size on it. I'm probably going to want to run the larger size anyways. So back to it. So anyways, with it off, you slide the stud inside of the machine, and then this depresses whenever you push it against your work surface, and you want this ring here, this collar is how it grounds out. So you need to have it so that this is flush. So anyways, if you're gonna be putting it up against your work surface, you just push it until it's flat. Let me see if I can get a better angle. Push it so that you're flat on the workpiece. And then it says just hold the trigger. Where is the trigger? Oh, I assume this. You hold that for about a second and then release it. Don't hold it any longer or you can burn through your metal. So anyways, let me get this completely unpackaged. Also, kind of jumping around a little bit here. The slide hammer. 2-pound slide hammer's in there. And on the one side, you have this black knob. And whenever you have this weld to your surface, what you do is the directions say to put this all the way in and roll this back away from the workpiece, so towards you. And then it locks onto that stud and it doesn't allow it to back out. And that way, whenever it's locked on there, take the slide hammer and just smack it against the back handle until you pull your dent out. So let's give it a shot. So just as a recap, in case any of you guys who've been following along forgot, or anybody who's just watching these videos for the first time, working on the cab corner on this 69 C10. And I didn't put this replacement cab corner on. I just finish welded it. Whenever it was installed, they really didn't line up the seams perfectly. So if you can see, there's a big dent or crease, whatever you want to call it, where the seam is, where it got finish welded. And I didn't want to keep on grinding this to get it all smooth because it would make the metal paper thin top and bottom. So what I did, I just put it in a little bit of primer just to keep it from flash rusting on me. I just took my mini belt sander and got the surface prepped. Hopefully this is big enough. If I need to open up a little bit more to get that full collar on here, then I'll do that, no problem. But I'm gonna start with it like it is. I'm gonna show you the inside. I didn't grind those welds down. I also didn't do all these welds, so don't make fun of me. I did do some of them though, so I guess you could half make fun of me. But anyways, I'm gonna leave the weld fully intact on the inside for now, just to try to keep a little bit of structure in there so that I'm not risking breaking any of the welds or trying to reduce that risk. If it becomes a real challenge to pop this out, then I'll grind those welds on the inside smooth, and then we'll try it again. So anyways, let me jump on into this and we'll test out the first stud. So I've got this plugged into an extension cord on a 15 amp circuit that's also my lighting circuit. So we'll see how that holds up. Probably gonna be having to flip breakers, but let's give this a shot. So I'm not gonna pull the trigger yet on this, but just to kind of show you guys, we'll have to see if that's a good enough ground contact. You probably can't really see it from where you're at, but with having that dip, I mean, just naturally, you're not gonna have a perfectly flat surface to get this to ground out to. And if you did, you probably don't need to be pulling dents with the stud welder, puller, whatever you wanna call this thing. Anyway, so we'll see how well it works. All right. So far, so good. Now again, it says to take the roller, hold it back towards you, slide this on, and then as you pull back a little bit, attention this way, you just want to roll this little wheel back, and that will lock in. You can see it's on there. Let's give it a shot. Actually seems like it's working, so that's good. Sweet. Pulling that out pretty decently. Let's get a couple more tacks put on, and or studs, whatever you want to call them, and then see what we could do. So I tried a couple of them out, and it actually seems like it's doing a pretty darn good job. So I'm overall pretty impressed. Obviously, I still have a lot more to do, but you could see, maybe see, how much it's already pulled that crease out of there. Before, you know, I put my hand up against it, and you could see a big gap behind it where that dent was. I did try reusing one of the studs when it came off. I mean, this one's got the little titty on the end of it, but this one, for example, is probably a better example. You can see if this will focus. You can see that it still has that tip, and it looks like it's in pretty good shape. So I tried reusing it. The one did okay. The other ones were not so good. So I guess even though it looks like it's in decent shape, it's one use only. So anyways, I'm gonna keep on going on this and see if we get it pretty smooth out. Well, the train derailed a little bit. Uh-oh, that's not what we were looking for. I'm gonna ignore this for a second and come back to it. So I wish I got a video before this nonsense happened. The stud welder actually did a really good job. Definitely very happy with it, and I got it much, much better than it was. Again, ignore that nonsense. Obviously it's not perfect. You're gonna have little ripples, and I was using a hammer and dolly to try to smooth that out a little bit, and then obviously come in behind it with some filler, and you do that in your body work, or spend copious amounts of time getting this perfectly smooth if you are that good. I am not. So to explain this mess here, whenever I was using the stud welder, it did break a lot of the welds just for how far I had to pull the dents out for that crease. And then also with putting the studs on, as you pull them out, they were leaving some holes. You could see one's right here was one, and there's another over here. But anyways, so I went to try to weld to fill in where the welds broke, as well as those holes. And like I was worried about, this metal is just so thin from overworking it whenever I was trying to blend these two sides together in a previous video. And yeah, I had my welder pretty much as low as I could put it, and like all these holes here that look like I just fell asleep while I was welding, yeah, it was like half a second pulling the trigger and it just is blowing holes. Doesn't matter what I do. So unfortunately, everything I did today is probably going to be thrown in the can, and I'm going to just have to come back with a piece of sheet metal and cut all this out and put a fresh piece of metal in, which will also fix that crease issue. So whatever. I do have another patch panel for the cab corner itself, this whole thing, but I don't think that this is going to constitute needing to replace the whole thing. I do need to put a little patch right here as well. I'm not even sure if the new cab corner would even go high enough. But anyways, I'll just get some sheet metal, I'll fill all this in, and take this as a learning lesson and keep a good, positive attitude about everything. So to recap, stud welder, pretty great. Sheet metal, not so great. But I'm just gonna write this off as experience and a learning lesson, and we'll just keep moving forward, keep a good attitude about it. You're gonna come across these things if you're doing, restorations or really most things in life, but whatever. So gotta keep your head up, keep moving forward, and we have a bunch of sheet metal work to do on this cab anyways. I do have a lot of patch panels, which are gonna be getting installed in upcoming videos. So if you'd like to follow along with finishing off this cab corner properly, and then some of the other stuff on this cab and the truck as a whole, as well as our other projects, go ahead, and if you're not already subscribed to the channel, do that if you'd like. And we also have an Instagram channel. It's under the same name, BarnBuiltFabrications. Give that a look if you'd like. And thank you guys all for watching. I appreciate it very much. Get outside, get wrenching on something, piss off your neighbor, disappoint your mom. And until next time, keep on keeping on.